5 straight wins for the Pelicans. And when it mattered most, Zion Williamson took over and ended this game. Add in a full team comeback, and the Pelicans are starting to show you exactly who they can be. Let's break down this comeback victory in today's episode of Locked On Pelicans. Let's go.
You are Locked On Pelicans, your daily New Orleans Pelicans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another edition of Locked On Pelicans, the daily podcast covering your favorite team, the New Orleans Pelicans and NBA, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, available wherever you get your podcasts and available on YouTube. I'm your host, 15-year credential member of the media, Pelicans insider Jake Madison at NOLA Jake on Twitter, here with you on this Wednesday. Pelicans are going streaking, 5 straight victories. It is technically the longest active winning streak here in the NBA currently, if you don't count the San Antonio Spurs losing the NBA Cup Finals. We're not. After beating the Dallas Mavericks 119-113, the Pelicans come back to win a game when they were down by 11 in this one due to Jordan Poole being a catalyst and Zion Williamson being a closer. But this was really a full team victory. You saw really good coaching, really good adjustments, facing adversity, not flinching, the role players stepping up. We're going to cover it all in today's episode of Locked On Pelicans. Today's episode of Locked On Pelicans is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. And of course, thank you for making Locked On Pelicans your first listen today and every day. We are here Monday through Friday, the #1 Pelicans podcast covering everything you want to know about this Pelicans team. So please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Join over 12,000 Pelicans fans on YouTube as well and become an everydayer. It means you listen Monday through Friday to the Locked On Pelicans podcast. If you're an everydayer, let me know in the comments down below on YouTube. Don't forget, you can also watch us on the Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network. Same place you want your Pelicans play at 10:30 a.m. every single day. What a game, y'all. What a game. The Pelicans looked terrible for 2 quarters of this, about a half. First quarter, they came out pretty feisty. The Smoothie King Center, shout out to y'all who were there. You were great in this one. The crowd was really good. Shout out the McGee dads for getting out there and really raising the energy level. We'll have more shout outs in this show, actually. It was awesome in the Smoothie King Center. When this team wins, people show up. You, the fans, when you get a good product, something that deserves cheering for like that, you show up. It was rocking in the Smoothie King Center in this game. First quarter was good. Then the second and third quarter, the Pelicans just were not good. They looked kind of bad, truthfully. Jordan Poole, we'll talk about him in a second, was not good in this game until basically the fourth quarter. But he sparked the comeback. And this team, down 11, when they would have folded in the past under old head coach Willie Green, are a different team under interim head coach James Borrego. I asked the question in yesterday's show, should he just be elevated to being the head coach? You don't technically need to do it now, but at the same point, they look different. They feel different. There's some execution issues. They still need to figure out what they're doing on defense, some things on offense too. But this is a team that has some fight in them, which you did not see earlier on in the year. And there's something to be said for just simply competing in a way that the Pelicans have not for the most part of the year, but are now. And they look like a very different team. Again, it's not a team that's a great team that they beat. The Dallas Mavericks going into this one, I think we're 11-18. They're 11-19. But you also have to take care of business against the teams that you can only play who's in front of you, right? So take care of business against those teams, and the Pelicans frankly are. And in this game, you had the vets come forward and do their job. It was the bench here, the bench being Jordan Poole and Zion Williamson. Jordan Poole, after me tweeting about him during the game, being like, get him off the court. And look, he was really bad in the first half of this game. Let's be very clear on that. He was 1 for 5, had 2 fouls, terrible defense, and was a -11 in the first half of this game. But then late in the third, start of the fourth quarter, he became the catalyst for the turnaround. He started getting a little bit hot, making a key 3. Then making a defensive play, taking a charge, making another 3, then getting a steal. And all of a sudden, it was a 4-point game, and the Pelicans had some momentum, and it was thanks to Jordan Poole. And once they got that momentum, they seized it. And it was Zion Williamson closing this team out. 2 games after sitting on the bench in the fourth quarter in overtime in that epic 25-point comeback over a very good Houston Rockets team where Zion Williamson didn't play, he was excellent in the fourth quarter in this game. He was the guy. He was the closer and slammed the door shut on the Dallas Mavericks. He was 3 for 3 from the field, 4 for 4 from the free throw line, 10 points in this one here, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, not a single turnover. He was outstanding in the fourth quarter, and just when he got to his spots, he was feeling himself. He got to his spots, and he has a couple of moves that when he starts getting going with them, it's done, right? That big jump step that he takes when he starts to drive, plants, jumps up, puts the ball out, and just lays it in off the glass. He can finish like a guard. You saw it in this game as he closed the door and took the Pelicans home for their 5th win in a row here. A team, a game that's going to make people around the league be like, wait. What are the Pelicans doing here? And it was because of the veteran guys. This was not the rookies playing kind of like above their heads and better than what we think. It was the dudes who are supposed to close the game for you, closing the game for you. That's highly encouraging to see here. Jordan Poole, 10 points in the fourth. Zion Williamson, 10 points in the fourth quarter as New Orleans won the fourth quarter 40-26 to complete the comeback. They made it a little bit dicey at the end. You got the full Jordan Poole experience in this one. He was terrible in the first half, to the point where it's like they shouldn't have played him. But Borrego stuck by his guys, played him in the fourth, and he turned the game around. You got the full Jordan Poole experience because late in the game too, 50 seconds left, he launched a 3 early on in the shot clock that they should not have been doing. And now all of a sudden Dallas made this a little bit of a game close. The people who I was sitting in my section with, everyone there is like, why are they shooting? Why are they not killing clock? Good questions to ask, and New Orleans made this one a little bit tighter than they should have, but you still closed the door, right? This was also a well-coached game, I think, overall from James Borrego. Not perfect, but well enough coached, right? You saw some good adjustments by Borrego in this one. After Anthony Davis was tearing this team apart throughout the game. We hate Anthony Davis here. He's getting booed relentlessly in the first half. He finished with 35 points, 17 rebounds in this one, by the way. But they really limited him enough, I thought, in the second half, in, holding him to just 13 points, which seemed good. After not double teaming him all game, they started double teaming him in the fourth quarter, getting the ball out of his hands. And then you saw the offense for the Dallas Mavericks really start to struggle in the fourth quarter. I'll take that. Better late than never. After Klay Thompson torching this team in the first half, they limited him in the second half, holding him to exactly 0 points, 0 for 5, getting the ball out of his hands, right? Letting other guys have to step up and beat you. Najee Marshall goes off, sure, whatever, and you lose. There's only so much you can do, but you try and play the odds and the right move here. And Borrego kind of finally figured it out. It took a little bit, but they figured it out as the game went on. Those tactical adjustments that they need to make, they did. That's a good job by Borrego. He knows his guys too. He knows which players to close with. We've seen him do it with Derik Queen, and we'll talk about Derik Queen in the second segment here. We've seen him do it with Jeremiah Fears, but he knows when, hey, Zion's the guy that's going to take us home in this game. He has just a really good feel for this team and where they are in the moment. And he's got this team playing differently. This team under Willie Green, for years, whenever they faced adversity into a game, folded. Whenever there was a little bit of adversity, this team just collapsed. Not in this game. Down 11, not looking great, just really couldn't get anything going. They found a way to get the victory. This was a fantastic win, in my opinion, from New Orleans. Again, the Mavs aren't great, but they did a really good job here. This team came out with, I think, the right attitude, too. It was emblematic, and we'll talk more about this in the third segment, of the way they played against Cooper Flagg. Cooper Flagg was not great in this game. He struggled with the physicality that New Orleans brought to him. Cooper Flagg's been a good defender this year as a rookie, the number 1 overall pick. And every single Pelicans player, when he was defending them, they just brought it to the dude. They looked like they wanted to make a point against Cooper Flagg and put this physicality on him, playing into his chest, bodying him up on offense, really trying to stick it to him. And it tired him out. Cooper Flagg made his first 23 straight free throws when he entered the league. He was 5 of 10 from the free throw line. He's an 80-plus shooter from the free throw line. And he just kept missing shots because New Orleans played him so physically, and he couldn't keep up with them in this game. That's part of the game plan. That's part of these players being amped for it. This is just a different team than what we have seen before. And it was just kind of summed up with all of this stuff, I thought, in this win over the Dallas Mavericks. So coming up next, one of the areas that had been worrying me is Zion Williamson and Derik Queen together on the court. They've been just kind of meh. They weren't meh in this game. They looked awesome, particularly in the fourth quarter. Let's break down their play, what you see from them. I also want to talk about two things with Derik Queen that you've got to start paying attention to. That's coming up here next in today's episode of Locked On Pelicans. Today's episode of Locked On Pelicans is brought to you by Prize Picks. The holiday season is one of the best times for sports. You got bowl games, big basketball matchups, playoff pushes. It's all happening at once. And while we're all making choices every day, one of the most fun places to make the right call is Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the easiest way to get in on daily fantasy. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, lock in your lineup, and you're in the game. It's that simple, fast, and available in 45 states, including California, Texas, Florida, and Georgia, and Louisiana. Prize Picks can just add that extra layer of excitement for that crazy holiday sports schedule. You're watching games every day. I know you are. Creating a lineup takes less than a minute. The app makes the whole process smooth and intuitive. Go have some fun here. You can choose from a huge, unique array of stats, fantasy scores, field goals attempted, free throws made, turnovers, whatever fits your strategy. And the early payout feature is a great bonus. When your lineup starts strong, you may get the option to just cash out early. So download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. And thank you for making Locked On Pelicans your first listen. Today and every day, we are here Monday through Friday, the #1 Pelicans podcast covering everything you want to know about this Pelicans team. So please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Join us on YouTube as well, or watch us on the Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now the #1 sports podcast network. Don't forget about the new Everydayer Club. If you haven't already, go check it out. You get access to ad-free audio for Locked On Pelicans, compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, every major podcast app. You also get access to a members-only Locked On Everydayer Discord Club server, which includes a group chat just for listeners of the show, but also just the NBA in general. It's really fun to be able to hang out with all the hosts, talk hoops, and about this team. You can check it out in the show notes down below for the link. Couple quick shout outs that I want to say right here before we talk about Derik Queen and Zion Williamson. Shout out Kevin for giving me, this was cool, the Derik Queen custom, this is homemade. 3D printed this and made it himself. The DQ Blizzard chain here, also with an alternate one for Zero Fears. You're going to see these back here in the future when I hang them up. I'm not going to do that on the show right now. But shout out to Kevin to that. Shout out to just everyone who said hi at all these games now that I've been back after the wedding and honeymoon, whether you were saying congratulations or just an everydayer. Look, I really appreciate y'all listening and saying hi to me. So if you see me running around, please come up and say something. It's fun to talk with y'all. I love hearing your thoughts on the team. Sometimes y'all are yelling and I don't hear. I'm not ignoring you, I promise. It's just sometimes I'm older. The hearing's going a little bit here. But just what a fun crowd in the Smoothie King Center for this game. So something that had been concerning me, I kind of talked about it in yesterday's show when I probably was a little more down on this team than I wanted to be. I still have questions about them, but let's enjoy 5 wins, right? There's a stat that has to do with Willie Green that I don't know if I want to put out here because I'm scared of jinxing it. Pelicans on the second night of a back-to-back against a Cavs team that just won on Tuesday but doesn't look overall good. Or Monday, whatever day of the week it is. It's Monday, right? This is the Tuesday show. Yes, something like that. So on this, I don't want to jinx it because, well, let's just say it. I've already said it. I've teased it enough. The longest winning streak the Pelicans had under head coach Willie Green, I believe, is 7 games. And that was in all of his years as head coach. They're at 5 right now under Borrego. It's kind of telling. I might be wrong. That was off my preliminary research under Willie Green here. So one of the things that had been worrying me, and I do think this team still needs to kind of pick a lane, but you are kind of getting, this game was kind of the best of both worlds. The rookies helped you win. Fears and Queen helped you win. And then Zion took you home and didn't look like a role player in this game. That's important. One of the questions has kind of been, can Derik Queen and Zion Williamson coexist out there on the court? Going into draft night, there were big questions about their overall fit next to each other and if that could work. And, they haven't done anything that would make you say otherwise until this game. Their net rating when they were both on the court together had been a 0.8, 0.8. That is just, that's not good, right? It's not bad. It's just kind of mid, meh, whatever you want to say there. That's not what you want, as I keep coughing here. That's not what you want to see from like two guys that are supposed to share the court. Now, it's been early, admittedly, but you still wonder about neither being a court spacer and what the spacing on the offensive end would be. And New Orleans not making their threes was a big problem of why they got down in this game. I don't exactly know how sustainable it is for the Pelicans to go 8 for 34 and still win a game from the field. It helps that the Mavs went just 10 for 33. So 3-point shooting could have changed this. And if you have your center and power forward not be 3-point shooters, like there's a concern there. You get the larger point that I'm making. This game, though, they were pretty good together, truthfully. I thought they looked really, really good overall. And you look at the most used lineup with them out there on the court, and this was the best offensive lineup that the Pelicans had, particularly because it was closing out the fourth quarter game. I'm using synergy stats here. And the lineup of Jordan Poole, Sadiq Bey, Trey Murphy, Derik Queen, and Zion Williamson played 16 possessions together. That might not sound like a lot, but their starting lineup played just 25 together. That was partially due to an injury to Herb Jones. We're waiting to hear what's going on there. But I can look at, these stats here, and when you see 16 possessions, it's actually a good bit in a game. They had a points per possession of 1.25. That's better than the starters here. That's actually a very, very good number. They were just basically exceptional, partially because they got to the line so much and made all of their shots. They also only had one turnover as that group. On defense, that group worked really well too. They gave up 0.88 points per possession. That played 17 possessions on defense, one more than what they had on offense. That's pretty tremendous. You're going to run away from teams if those are your points per possession numbers on offense and defense. I don't have that translated to net rating right now, though I could figure that out. They just looked real good. That's a pretty important thing to be able to see from this group. So the fact that they found a lineup that was working, and a lot of that was momentum in this game, but it shows you these two can maybe coexist. When you have Derik Queen rebounding like he was doing, this team has struggled with defensive rebounding. They are not a good defensive rebounding team. But all of a sudden, when you get Derik Queen grabbing boards in the fourth quarter, things start to look a little bit different. They're the 26th. They ranked 26 in terms of defensive rebounding. So they're 5th worst in the league here. But all of a sudden, in this game, you see Derik Queen improving as a defensive rebounder. He had 10 boards in this game, 9 defensive rebounds. Those are tremendous numbers. His stat line of 19 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, a block, and just 3 turnovers is incredible for a dude that's 19 years old, 20 years old, whatever he is. He was phenomenal in this game and kind of proved that he can coexist with Zion. The question is, if you play Zion, you need your center to be getting defensive boards because you're a little bit undersized at the 4. Well, if Derik Queen's going to do that, we're okay there all of a sudden. And you saw him really do a great job on the boards, 4 in the fourth quarter alone. That's exactly 2 from him on the defensive glass. And that's what you need to see from him. He was getting the boards that he needed to get throughout the game and limiting some of those second chance opportunities in offensive rebounds for the Dallas Mavericks. Okay, now you start to think these guys can probably play together a little bit. He took 2 threes. He missed them both, but the fact that he's taking them means he's got some confidence he can make them. That'll work. The passing works too. You saw them used in actions together. You saw dribble handoff actions between Derik Queen and Zion Williamson. And all of a sudden then, Zion gets the ball on a dribble handoff from Queen. They double Zion to get the ball out of his hands. He kicks it right back to Queen. And all of a sudden, Queen has some space because he's good at driving and attacking and moves pretty fluidly. So he can get to the rim himself that way. Or if you start to take that away and you don't double Zion and you put a guy on Queen, he's just going to take the first good shot attempt. And he's got such touch on his shot. It's going to work. He was 7 for 12 in this game. It's almost 60% shooting. It's when you see him play like this in the two-man actions that they had and the two-man game that they were playing, like, good luck stopping that with Queen and his passing ability. His spin move. I'm going to do a deeper dive on this because, like, it doesn't seem like it should be effective and work, but it does work. He's got a pretty crafty spin move that creates space for him, and it makes him a post-up threat. When he becomes a big post-up threat, that's why Jokic works so well. That's why Şengün works so well. His high end, those are all NBA level guys. Jokic is maybe one of the best players ever, and his comp is that because of what he's doing right now. It's just incredible to see from those guys. But to see those two play as well together as they did is highly encouraging to not go with a two timelines approach and just have one super timeline of everything together. So it was just encouraging to see. It's one game. You don't want to overreact to it, but it's better to see it than not. And you saw it in this game. So coming up next, let's look at a couple of other things that make this team really believe in themselves. And that has to do with Sadiq Bey, guys like Jose Alvarado and others. That's coming up here next in today's episode of Locked On Pelicans. Today's episode of Locked On Pelicans is brought to you by Game Time. During basketball season, there's nothing like being in the building. The energy, the crowd, that first big run that gets everyone on their feet. Fans want to be there for those moments, not stuck refreshing screens or guessing what tickets are really going to cost. That's where Game Time comes in. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage back, making it incredibly easy to score amazing tickets, fast, simple, and without the guesswork. This is my go-to ticketing app. When people are like, can you get me Pelicans tickets? No, I can't, but you can go get a great price on Game Time. And the app is super straightforward and intuitive. You can just find tickets in a few taps. And you can see the view from your seat before you buy, which makes choosing tickets easy, and it's just going to have you feel confident about it too. And all the prices include fees up front, so the total is clear from the start. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your purchase. Download the Game Time app today and get in on the action. And thank you for making Locked On Pelicans your first listen today and every day. We are here Monday through Friday, the #1 Pelicans podcast covering everything you want to know about this Pelicans team. So please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Join us on YouTube as well. I got to go quick in this segment because I've gone a little bit long here because I'm so excited about this game. 5 in a row. This is a pretty incredible run for New Orleans. Borrego is really making the claim for the head coaching job. Let's see if they can make it 6 tonight. On the road, second night of a back-to-back. We'll see if Zion Williamson is playing. I hope they do, and something makes me feel like they will. I think Zion wants to prove that things are different too. Him playing on the second night of a back-to-back would go a long way for that sort of thing. This team has a lot of belief right now. You see it with the way that they play on the court, but beyond that, there's a lot of internal belief that they can still make a run to the play-in tournament. And frankly, getting this win is actually kind of important to it. This is the team you are chasing for the play-in tournament game. You were 5.5 back to start the night. You're still now just 5 back because Portland took over the 10th spot instead of the Dallas Mavericks, but you picked up a game on the Dallas Mavericks, and that's an important thing. You've got to beat these teams. You have to beat these teams. I don't think they're a good team, but they're not a bad team because they're beating bad teams, and I will take that. That's good enough for the play-in tournament. I still think it's going to be a little bit of a long shot, but they're at least in position to try and strike now a little bit, whereas they were not before. And part of that is their depth. You're seeing these guys really step up. 2 games after Sadiq Bey was the hero for New Orleans against the Houston Rockets, he still finished with 19.7 rebounds, 5 defensive boards. You need that from him. Off the bench, you have Jordan Poole, who did his job, finished strong for New Orleans after, a game where he, at one point, just straight up did not look good. But I'll take 14 points from him off the bench. Micah Peavy had some decent minutes, even if he didn't score off the bench for New Orleans, in place for injured Herb Jones. Carlo Makovich with some decent minutes. Jose Alvarado coming in and hitting 2 big threes. Your role players are stepping up on a night where Trey Murphy just had an off night. I think he was asked to create a little bit too much. But 11 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals for Trey Murphy. A well-rounded stat line, even if the shot wasn't falling because he was 4 for 12. That's going to work. There is some depth. There is some belief that things are just different around this team right now. And the results are speaking for themselves about it. Again, I put an asterisk on some of this because these are bad teams that they're beating, but that's who is on your schedule right now, and they're taking care of business. And at times, they're blowing some of these teams out. You blew out the Indiana Pacers. There's something to be said for that, right? You know, you kind of ran away from Chicago Bulls and the Portland Trailblazers. You know, these aren't like you won on a last-second shot and it's kind of fluky. These are solid, convincing wins. So there's belief in this team. They need to figure some things out defensively, right? Like not having the right game plan to start against Anthony Davis and Klay Thompson wasn't great, but you made the right adjustments and you got there at the end. You know, they need to just play better defensively at times. You know, it took Jordan Poole 3 quarters to get going, even being just like an average defender. He was real bad in the beginning. You know, you've seen some guys just struggle at times too. That's okay. Fears is missing layups, but that's fine. He's a rookie, but he contributes with like key steals. He had 1 steal in this game, and he fought so hard for that steal, and it was important and in a clutch time. The way this group is playing is so different than where they were to start the year. It makes you wonder what could have been if you had Borrego from the start as your head coach versus Willie Green. But they're making the most of the situation, and I've been impressed by that, and I think you should be impressed by that too. If you are, let me know in the comments down below. So that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Pelicans. What a fun win. We're back at it on Tuesday night, second night of a back-to-back. It's going to be fun to look at this one and see what the Pelicans can do. You're kind of catching the Cavaliers at the right time. They've been really struggling. I don't know, take playing them here. You will see this. Again, shout out Kevin for the gift here on the show in the background going forward. This is awesome. It's just fun to see a rockin' Smoothie King Center like that. So that's going to do it. As always, I'm your host, Jake Madison, at NOLA Jake on Twitter. Join the Everydayer Club. Become an Everydayer. I'll be with y'all tomorrow. See y'all next time.